Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing the eyeshadow palette tag. This was a tag created by Samantha and Allie Glines, and it was really big and popular here on YouTube about a month or so ago, but your girl didn't have a YouTube channel a month ago, so we just gonna do it now. It's a whole bunch of questions about all different eyeshadow palettes, and I've been loving watching other people's videos on it, so I am super excited to do it for you guys today. So yeah, if you're interested in hearing all of my answers to the eyeshadow palette tag questions, then let's go ahead and get started. So the first one is, what is the newest palette to your collection? And I actually have two because I got them at the same time. It is the ColourPop All Things Equinox palette, and she's got Solstice palette. I got both of these about a month or so ago, back in June, because I had a birthday Ulta gift card. And this is the All Things Equinox palette, and it is just beautiful. I love the purpley tones in here. It's nice and cool toned. And then the She's Got Solstice palette is another stunner. I love both of these. I haven't gotten a chance to use both of them too much yet, but I love them both and I am so happy I picked them both up. The next question is, what is the oldest palette in your collection? And that is definitely the Kylie Cosmetics Bronze palette. This is probably 4 years old at this point, and I used to be obsessed with this palette. You can tell it is dirty and it's well loved. It's kind of a hot mess, but I really don't reach for this palette very much anymore, and I actually think I'm going to declutter it soon because it is getting up there in age. Up there in age. That's a weird thing to say about a palette, but it is getting old. But I did love it while I used it, and this is definitely the grandma of my collection. Next we have, what is the most expensive palette in your collection? And I'm actually proud that this is the most expensive. It is the Natasha Denona Sunrise palette. This retails for $65, and the reason why I'm proud about it is because there are so many palettes out there that are more expensive than this that I want so badly, but I have not bought them yet. So $65 is a lot for a palette. I will say I did get this during a Sephora sale, so I got the 15% off, but it's still pricey. However, these shades are stunning. I really do love this palette. When I first got it, I don't know, I struggled with it a little bit, but on my Instagram page about 2 months ago or so, I did a 1 week 1 palette with it, and I seriously fell in love with this palette during that time. I loved all 5 looks that I made. These are just nice, like warm toned, beautiful burgundy shade, pops of yellow that I just really enjoy. The next question is your most affordable palettes in your collection, and I'm pretty sure that this has been almost everyone's answers that I've watched their videos on, and it is the e.l.f. Bite Size eyeshadow palettes. I have 2 of them. I have Rose Water, which is just a really pretty cool toned pinky purpley kind of mauve shades, and then I also have Truffles, which is the deepest brownie black. This silver is actually really stunning, and these retail for $3 doll hairs. 3. That is crazy. This is definitely a Instagram / YouTube made me buy it kind of moment, because I just saw these absolutely everywhere, and everyone was talking about how amazing the formula was for $3. How did e.l.f. do it for $3? They're so good for $3. Did I mention they're $3? But I picked these up because of everyone raving about them, and I'm not gonna lie, I think I've used both of these 1 time each, but I definitely don't reach for these very much. They are just so tiny. You're pretty limited with what kind of looks you can make. But I will say, once I'm back in the swing of work and having to do my makeup really quickly early in the morning for work, I definitely can see me reaching for these more. So I do agree that for the price, $3, it's pretty good. Next is your everyday eyeshadow palette, and I picked the Pixie by Petra. This is their Eye Reflection Shadow Palette in Natural Beauty. This was sent to me by the brand, and I'm not gonna lie, if I was just cruising down the aisles of Target and saw this, I don't think that I would pick it up. I don't think that I would look at this palette and instantly be like, yes, that is something I need in my collection. However, them sending it to me gave me a chance to try this out, and you guys, I love this palette so much. And the reason why I love it is it's not, how do I say this in a good way that makes it come across as a good palette still? It's not insanely pigmented, which I personally like, because I have the tendency of going very heavy-handed with my eyeshadow and wanting to do a natural look, and next thing I know, it's deep and smoky and way more intense than I intended it to be. And you cannot do that with this palette. Even these darker shades, they do not build up super dark on the eyes, which sounds like a negative, but to me it's a positive. And Pixie's formula is actually really good. If you have never tried Pixie's eyeshadow formula, I really do recommend. I have a couple of their palettes. Their mattes blend very pretty and their shimmers are stunning. They are reflective, they have fallout, so I would definitely use a glitter glue with them. But this palette, every single time I use it, I like my eye look that I made. Next is your most colorful palette, and that is by far this little guy right here. It is the ABH Norvina collection, the Mini Pro Pigment Palette Volume 2. This is also a little bit newer to me, so I haven't had a chance to play with it a ton. My sister got it for me back in June for my birthday. And I know it's a really small palette, but as far as the shades that are in it and how bright they are and how pigmented they are, and they're like neon, this definitely is my most colorful eyeshadow palette in my collection. It is not for the faint of heart. They are definitely pretty bright, pretty bold colors, so you have to be in the mood for that kind of look, that kind of vibe. When I am, this is my go-to. The next question is the smallest palette, and I kind of had to cheat a little bit for this because the e.l.f. Bite Size palettes and the Natasha Denona mini palettes are definitely smaller than this one, but I use those palettes for other categories and I didn't want to use one of the palettes for more than one question, if that makes sense. So my smallest palette that I'm using is the Huda Beauty Nude Light palette. I'm absolutely obsessed with this palette. It is seriously so stunning. These shades are perfection. I use all of them and I love all of them. The mattes blend so nicely. I will say they are not super pigmented right off the bat. These are the type of mattes that you do need to build up. There's absolutely no kick up in the pan or fall on your face with the mattes, which is nice. These shimmers, again, are out of this world. They are absolutely stunning on the eye. They have quite a bit of fallout though, so I would definitely use a glitter primer or glitter glue with them, but the payoff is worth the fallout to me. I always do my eyes first when I use this palette, but every single time I've used it, I have absolutely loved my look. Next is the largest palette in your collection, and again, I'm pretty sure this is almost everyone's answer that I've watched so far, but it is the Jaclyn Hill and Morphe palette. This is the original one. I actually do not have the second one, but I do like this palette. It is very large. You get a lot of shades in here. It's a little overwhelming when you look at it, like, what do I use? But for the most part, I really do like this palette, and it's definitely the largest one I own. The next question is the palette that gives you the best memory, and I'm not gonna lie, I really struggled with this. I have such a terrible memory that when I think about important events in my life, I'm lucky that I even remember the events, let alone what makeup I was wearing, so I don't really connect makeup with memories, if that makes sense. But I picked the Natasha Denona Mini Nude palette, and that's because I used this the entire time my husband Mike and I were on our honeymoon. We went to Jamaica and we had so much fun, and this was the palette that I used every single day that we were there. When I look at this palette, I don't immediately think of Jamaica and our honeymoon, but when I look at it and remember, oh, I used this on my honeymoon, it makes me feel nice and it makes me feel good. But like I said, that's not something that I immediately think of when I look at this palette. Then we have a palette that you think is worth the hype. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't really heard a lot about this palette or this brand on YouTube very much. I mainly hear about it on my Instagram account, but it is the Sydney Grace Enduring Love palette. I had so many of my friends on my Instagram account rave about this and say how much they love Sydney Grace's formula, and so I picked this up. This palette doesn't look like too much when you first look at it. These kind of look like pretty normal shades, minus the couple pops of color it has. This doesn't look like anything that would be really that spectacular in my opinion, but the formula and the way these shades show up on your eyes are just stunning. It's the eyeshadow palette that I have on my eyes today, and I love how this look turned out. And I 1,000,000% think that this is worth the hype it gets. The shadows are beautiful, they perform beautifully, and I am so happy I bought this palette. So the next category is a palette that you do not think is worth the hype, and I feel like I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this, but I chose the Tati Beauty Textured Neutrals Volume 1 palette. I was so excited to see this palette when it got launched. I bought it pretty much immediately. I feel like every single time I have used this palette, I've just struggled with it. It is beautiful. I love the way that it's laid out. I'm really glad that Tati is trying to be innovative with her brand. However, just the actual formulas, I just really struggle with. The mattes get pretty patchy on my eyes almost every single time I use it. The sequin shade, I haven't played too much with it, so I can't really comment, but the metallics are not really that great in my opinion. They're not really that bold and bright and beautiful on the eyes, which I kind of think she did that on purpose, because if you want that kind of look, you would just use the glitters. But the glitters kind of irritate my eyes when I use them. I want to love this palette. Every single time I use it, I go into it with the thought process that this time's gonna be better, and I'm gonna like my look better, and I'm gonna struggle less, and each time I use it, that's not the case. Second to last, we have your favorite palette from your favorite brand, and I chose the ColourPop So Jaded palette, also by a favorite YouTuber. I love Kathleen Lights. I really like ColourPop a lot. I wouldn't say I have a favorite brand, but ColourPop is definitely one of them. I enjoy almost everything I've tried by them, and this palette is no exception. I mean, were we surprised when Kathleen Lights dropped an amazing palette? I wasn't. I love her. I think she's awesome, and this palette is stunning. I love these jewel tone shades. Every single time I use it, I love how my eye look turns out. I never really struggle with the mattes, the shimmers, anything, and this palette is just stunning. I absolutely love it. And the very last palette question is your most used palette. Again, I feel like I struggled with this because I have such a large collection that there isn't really one palette that I've used a million times. I picked the Violet Voss Pro palette that we got in BoxyCharm forever ago, like 2 years ago now. I really genuinely love this palette a lot. I think these shades are beautiful. Again, I don't really have any issues when I use this palette. I usually like the eye look that I make with it. I haven't used it in a hot sec though. I definitely need to pull it back out and use it again very soon. And that was it, you guys. That was all of my answers to the palette challenge tag. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much. You're awesome and I love you. I will have all of these linked down below for you guys. Please subscribe if you have not yet, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye guys.